Hey,
Mhm. Thanks for hopping on. I'm gonna try the share host key pattern and see if, although I don't actually see that, I just see host key. Someone else is on it, might as well screen share and show you what I'm dealing with. Yeah, so here's the call, right? Click here, host key. It's my host key. And going to participants, clicking claim host. The host key you entered is invalid. There's this I am the host button. I click that, but then nothing happens. Maybe I have to be logged into Zoom. Could that be
oh
it?
no, it's doing the same for me. That's strange. Uh, hmm.
Let me try to log into Zoom and see if that helps. Let's try to claim host again. Oh, why am I not staying logged in? I mean, we don't really have anything on the agenda at the moment, so
It's fine. It's more just, I guess, for the recording. We don't have to have a host key. Um, yeah, so like all this stuff ends up on the recording, but that's okay.
I have to trim the recording, right?
So it gets automatically uploaded to YouTube. So
Okay.
we could not do that and trim it, but it's a lot of work. It's just fine. We can put in the description that it starts at such and such time. So and put like a break point or something there. I don't know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So all of this is going to be preserved for posterity. I have to be careful what I say.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Uh, I'm sure you've been having a fun time.
Oh man. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I see the pain.
And there's so much stuff that is not related to the release, like the fact
Yeah.
that setup tools upgraded in a way that breaks the doc builds. So the doc release is like surprisingly unnecessarily complicated. I mean, we had to upgrade the Python version, upgrade
Hmm.
requirements files just to get CI and read the docs to build,
Hmm.
and then a
Yeah.
bunch of tag juggling and yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. We got through. We're like in the last section. All the docs are published. All the Python packages are published. And I'll have a big PR that I'll tag you in that like fixes the docs in various places and fixes the automation in various places. And and uh and then I also have notes on like what other stuff we can do.
Yeah, it's the SDK portions is like always a huge, huge pain. And I saw that you also encountered the when you bump the version, if there are new tests added and they didn't account, they don't like source it locally or don't have that like ability to set package, then it tries to download from PyPy and it fails
Yep.
because that version hasn't been released. So I saw, yeah, so that's one of the things where I was thinking we create the release branch early and then because like the release manager shouldn't be on the hook for fixing all of that stuff. That's like whoever added those should fix it or ideally we cache this stuff in the CI, but it's a little bit tricky because like you bump the version during the release. So like how do you do that? Um, but a lot of this becomes easier if it's a single package. So
Yes. And also I think like nothing should pull from PyPy in CI, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Right. So we could, if there's just so many tests, but if we could just somehow enforce that, that would be, there might be ways around it because you can, like pip gives you some abilities to overwrite what the default index is. So we can do that at the start of our CI and, we can there's a couple of ways around this. One is we can build locally, or we can have a internal like pip repository that we deploy just for CI, and we build the package and upload it there. That way, it would also work for like runtime. So like when executor pulls from pip. So it's there's ways around it. It's just it requires a little bit of like effort and bandwidth to fix.
Good news is it already is fixed for all of CI except for the local KFP execution. So there's already a lot of precedent of addressing this problem. It's just retrofitting those solutions to be compatible with the Docker runner.
Yeah, yeah. So have you made changes already to like upstream master?
What I decided, it was broad enough in scope. Like last night at like midnight, I was like cracking away at this, and I was like, wait a second, this is a PR to like update tags. I don't want to like intermingle a bunch of like substantive CI and logic updates into it.
Hmm.
So I decided to uh, just squash and merge using and abusing my admin privileges because then the package gets published and the CI subsequently succeeds. But I reached out to Nilesh because he was the last one to work on the local runner, and I filed an issue. And either Nilesh will tackle it, or someone will, potentially me, maybe OpenClaw. Um, so somebody will tackle it ideally before the next release, so that the next release manager doesn't have to handle this problem.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, but we did fix a bunch of others. There was logic letter, and I'll have a PR. That'll be a PR to master. It's not in the release, but I'll have a PR with a bunch of optimizations to the automation, like all the little scripts that streamline some of this.
Yeah, initially before me, they were uh, publishing the package like locally.
Yeah,
So then I moved it to CI, and then we had the problem of like, then what about then it's this like circular, but they're pulling from PyPy. So then I updated a lot of the tests to source it from like local, but then I don't think it's clear if you're adding new tests to do that. And I don't know. So I think if we can like somehow block it at the CI level broadly, that like it has to be from either local or from like this internal pip or something, then uh then what goes in master will probably work for like the release branches.
for sure, for sure. I mean, not that long ago, we had to decouple the proto changes from, we had to release stuff in waves, which meant that there was no way to do, like really do end-to-end validation in that first PR.
Yeah, yeah. It
So
was
it's come a long
just
way.
so backwards.
Yeah, it's in such a better place, and it'll only get better. I have
Yeah.
half a mind to just feed that release doc into Claude and just be like, automate this whole thing.
Yeah, why not?
And might be able to. Yeah.
Let's see. So we're almost at time. Maybe let me try it again. I wish there was a way to refresh the host key. Manage meeting. No.
Okay, yeah, Tom. Nice to put a face to the name.
Hello, Alexander. Thank you. Nice to meet you eventually.
Hey, hey.
Hi everywhere.
Is this your first time on one of the community calls?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little bit shy about my English.
You sound fine to
Thank you.
Your English is better than my Russian, so
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
я понимаю чуть-чуть.
Это круто.
So we can wait till like 103 or something, give people a chance to sign on.
Yeah, I could not get the hosting to work at all. So we'll maybe reach out to, I don't know, Alexa or something and see if something changed.
Alexei, what's their last name?
Sorry, not Alexa. Who am I thinking of? Uh, who set it up? Oh, it was Andre. Yeah, yeah, Andre. Okay. I
Cool. I
think
think
he's
I
the
may
one
have.
that was advising.
Okay, I'll reach out to him. Okay, let's go ahead and start. Let me screen share. Okay. Hi, everybody. Just going to go through this obligatory preamble. Welcome to the Kubeflow Pipelines community meeting. Today's date is February 25th, 2026. This meeting is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct. The meeting is recorded and will be uploaded to the Kubeflow YouTube account after the call has ended. So why don't we start with introductions if anybody wants to introduce themselves to the community at large.
So it might be me. Uh, Hi everyone again. My name is Anton. I'm software engineer at Avita, contributing to Qflow when I have time. Today focusing more on a central driver, so it's nice to be here.
Welcome, Anton. Welcome. We're excited about your participation, and the work you've done on the central driver has been magnificent.
Thank you so much.
Going to be very, very happy when we merge that PR. And to your point, we'll get to, actually, we'll come back around to it because it's on the list of the agenda.
Yep.
Um, so great. Why don't we get started? We have a light agenda today, which usually means the meeting will go over based on past precedent. So yeah, regarding the 216 release, Mike and I have been working on that over the last day and a half or so, and we're in like the last stage. So we should be done by end of day unless like some unanticipated hiccups surface. Um, that's not a big window between today and like Monday the 2nd. So personally, I think I'd be a little bit nervous about making it part of the next Kubeflow release, but I want to open that up to discussion if anybody thinks otherwise. It is a pretty big release. It's a minor release. There are a lot of changes as far as lines of code are concerned. We're talking about like at least 125,000 lines because I reviewed at least 125,000 line PR, but probably closer to 200,000 lines of code changed. So I would love to have a little more time to just kind of stress test this and make sure it's good before we bundle it with.
I mean, what's the cost? So if we were to, like, let's say we assume that patches will probably follow, like patch fixes, because the changes are so massive. So, okay, so let's say we are able to release by this week. Monday, They include KFP 2.16, but we release patches. Um, I guess one, how hard is it to include that in the next patch release of Kubeflow? When do those go out, if any? And if they don't, then I mean, like it shouldn't be too much to just users can always just deploy Kubeflow pipelines, the latest patch on top of their Kubeflow platform, right? So I I don't see it as a problem.
Right on. I totally hear all those points you made. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Cool. Well, then let's release it. Um,
Yeah, I think we should be like, I think it's just like being agile about it. Like if we release it and it's before it, then people can include it. If they don't, then it's fine. We get into the next release, um, and then we'll continue releasing patch release, and then we'll notify platform, and then they can include the next patch release when they're able
good.
to.
Yeah, makes sense, Amir. Apologies. I'm always in the banking mindset. Um, and I have to be reminded that we can be a little bit more agile here, which I appreciate. Um, so who do we notify and who's going to notify them?
Yep, I will notify the Kubeflow release team that we will be going with 2.16.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa.
So we're aiming for 2.16 this week. So we expect to be should be out. I don't know what changes will need to go into platform. I guess manifests may need to be sent there. I don't know if that's automated.
I think they have a synchronization, like Julius runs a synchronization tool that automates that. But yeah, I'm sure the release team will know. But if
Okay.
necessary, we'll help out with anything that needs help. Cool. Does that address your topic, Alyssa?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
One question. So what's the so that's feature freeze, right? That's not when they're planning to cut the release. What is the gap between feature freeze and release? Do we know?
Let me double check on that.
Yeah, if that I didn't read that carefully enough. If it's just feature freeze, yeah, that gives us
Yeah.
more to validate.
Yeah. Because then maybe we can just continue to like get bug fixes in and create a patch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so the release itself is on the 20th of March. The goal is to get it in
oh,
before Con, and so feature freeze is on March 2nd, which is next Monday.
yeah.
But in
Okay.
our
Yeah.
previous release team meeting, they were just going over which version of each component will be used.
Yeah, we're fine.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so moving on. Anton, do you want to address this?
Uh, so this is, in my view, it's quite a major architectural shift, and it will be great if as many people as it's possible to review this. Also, I put some concerns. Driver agent limitation has some drawbacks, and it's about problem that we can't control the driver garbage collecting. It's always deleted once the workflow will finish it, no matter success or failed. And it's mean that we lost the driver logs. Might be some workarounds, but
Okay, got it. Thanks, Anton. So that is a concern, I think. And I think a simple workaround, since the executor already has logic to like ship logs to the artifact store, maybe we can have the centralized driver ship logs as well. it'll be a little bit confusing because it'll be one set of logs for all components. And then there's also a question of like, well, which component do you associate that artifact with? Um, so that's a little concerning, I guess. There are some design questions we have to address there. But I
Yeah.
think I'm curious to hear what the other maintainers think. But I kind of suspect that this might be a firm requirement just because occasionally people pass bad configuration values to the driver and the driver fails. And if it fails completely opaquely and it gets immediately GC'd and the user has no way to determine what the cause of failure is, um, that could be a real issue.
Alternatively, there are workaround. Argo workflow spec always contains spec nodes, and user may find errors from driver into spec, but it's definitely less convenient.
Yeah, yeah. The events can be useful, but the logs are not as thorough as the events
Yeah.
are not as thorough as the logs, right? Um,
Well,
okay.
is there any path to adding a finalizer on the driver pod?
Sorry, it's question to me.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we could like block deletion until we collect logs and then do something and then we clear it up and so it can be collected. I don't know like how Argo does it, so but I do think that like we need to be able to look at driver logs because it's just gonna make everything more challenging if we can't. Um,
I will research it a little bit. I thought about it, but don't manage to check that. The stabilizing of pair and fix all E2E test, it took the most of times.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm curious, can we use like Argo Workflow's log archiving functionality and just upload that as an artifact in KFP after the fact?
I believe yes, but I will research it. And I will post to thread devoted to central driver.
sounds good. It really conceivably could be as simple as just having like a try catch effectively that sleeps for some predetermined duration. Um, and then it won't get GC'd. My only concern is would that mess up the like status of the workflow as a whole? Will it be labeled as incomplete because that specific component never finished? And either way, like surfacing it through the UI is going to be a really significant improvement in user experience, I think, vis-a-vis what the current system. So it's probably worth exploring. Um,
Uh,
So,
that's why.
um,
Sorry for interrupting. As far as I know, show driver logs in UI, demanding rework how the logs are stored. Right now, we store in storage by pod name, S3 storage, and it might demanding to store logs by execution ID. Execution ID, as I remember, shared between driver and launcher, and so it's quite show driver log in UI might be quite big also change. Not so big, obviously, as a central driver, but not minor.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing like if you just attach it to an existing component and just call it driver logs,
Yep, yep.
you could piggyback on all of the visualization that's already available.
Mm.
It's a bit of a band-aid, but it might be a reasonable stopgap. Matt, sorry, you've had your hand up for a little while. Go ahead.
yeah, so do we not already include like driver logs on KFP? I thought we uploaded them on failure. We
Uh,
never got around to it, or
no, driver logs don't get shipped. I mean, they are handled by Argo's like workflow
yeah.
Argo, but none of that's surfaced through the UI. It's not available. Um, in the UI.
Okay. Yeah, I think my preference is just, yeah, the central driver could then just upload to artifact, like as a KFP artifact essentially to S3, a log per driver execution essentially. We should be able to like isolate the logs per like time the central driver is called. Because it's I'm not super familiar with the architecture of this, but as I understand, it's like one server for the duration of the pipeline run, right? So as it gets a request, like we should be able to log that separately and just upload the logs as an artifact, like we do for the launcher logs.
Yep.
Valid.
It may even be labeled as an output artifact of the final component so that in the DAG you see there's an actual output visualized called
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah, exactly. You said it much better than me, but that's what I was getting at.
Cool. I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but let's continue this discussion. And I'm sorry to add more complexity to a ton of complexity that you've already implemented, Anton. I'm happy to help in any way, including validation. Let us know, keep us in the loop.
Sure. Thank you.
Cool. This is, I think, I'm seeing stuff getting added, and I think
Wait,
this is
hold
what.
on. Nilesh has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Nosh.
Um, no, since we've moved on, but my point was, could we actually upload logs in a hierarchical way, wherein execution ID, which is the same, right, can be the parent, and then per pod, per execution pod, we upload logs.
It's a ideal way, and as I mentioned, I believe it might be more complicated to execution driver. So in current schema, if driver per execution, it might be easy due to we have one driver per execution, and they share the same execution ID. It requires some change of how we store logs, but it's not rocket science. To a driver, central driver, it might be more complicated due to it's a single one component which write logs for each task for each before preparing in, output for each driver. I believe it might be difficult to determine a log for specific execution, and the most easiest approach is just publish all log to some kind of component. For instance, separate tab with central driver whole log. Not sure what I impress my thought clearly.
Yeah, I was thinking just like every driver request, you could instantiate a new logger, and you always log to standard out, but you could log to like a separate file, and then you just upload that file as an output artifact.
Agreed.
I think you should be able to do that.
Okay, I will give it a go.
Component. Okay. Thanks, guys. That makes a lot of sense too.
And actually, that's what I originally meant, and I misread.
No worries.
Yeah, so that's my preference. If we can get that to work, I think that's the best user experience.
Completely agree, Matt. Okay, cool. So moving on. Jason, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so I have like created this KEP like basically like to try to add like what you say generic capabilities like into Kubeflow UI, and possibly if like SDK if we can support this. So like just want to know like your all your thoughts like about this.
Let me zoom in a bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
Alex, or maybe share the link.
Yes, I can drop the link as well. Let me
No,
do it.
thanks.
No problem.
This is just a mock-up UI, but like this is like the concept that I was looking at.
More so this side right here. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
This it looks like Claude's attempt
yeah,
at visualizing
yeah.
the existing UI. Um,
Yeah, I really like it. ML Flow just added something very similar. Um, we would just, I guess, need to figure out like how we would do this per namespace. It works really well for like a local, well, if you're running it locally, like ML Flow, where you just use your Claude CLI that's already configured. But I definitely like this as something to pursue.
I think we can add like some RBAC mechanism, add like basically like say for example, if I have access to like specific namespaces, right? I should be able to do things only within my namespace and those kind of things, right? And we can connect to like specific endpoints, Claude or like any of the endpoints, right? We can do that actually.
Yep. Yeah. So we already have like a KFP launcher config map per namespace.
Okay.
And so you could potentially just have a secret reference in there that points to like a Kubernetes secret that has the API keys.
Okay.
Matt, would that be the goal, is to have the model plumbed in per namespace?
I think like I want to give the admin the option of having it set globally at the API server configuration layer, but also being able to like set it at the namespace level.
Okay.
there's a, I'm not going to write this down since we're all on the call, but there's a broader Kubeflow MCP initiative that's underway that you might be able to like piggyback on, Jason.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Um, yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have time to review this tomorrow. So thank you so much for taking the time and creating the design. From the little bits I've seen, it looks really exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. All right, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey folks. I'm sure you all saw on the channel, but just want to highlight it here. We've got so we hit the React 17 milestone, which is awesome. But we now have a React 17 to 18 and then 19 upgrade plan. So that's just a markdown file if anybody's interested in how we're going to attack that. And then just a call for could use some PR reviews to keep moving this forward. Those top two are pretty easy. In fact, probably the top three, but I was gonna look at the third one again to validate before I call it easy. But that third one's pretty meaty, or that fourth one's pretty meaty. So I'll keep pinging others in the channel, but if somebody has a chance, that'll push that effort forward.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jeff.
I can ask some of the Red Hat folks to see if they have availability. I personally don't, but I do want to also like thank you for migrating from the enzyme tests. That was like the biggest blocker for the React upgrade, and um, many have tried it, and no one had the willpower to power through and get it done. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you saying that. Honestly, it's it's a chore. Nobody wants to do it. I think the intersection of where we're at with the AI agentic coding is really what did it. So excited to get it in a more modern and stable spot.
Well, coding agents couldn't do it 6 months ago, so
Yep.
at least that was the last time we tried. So
Totally.
glad it can now.
November 25th is my milestone in my when Opus 4.5 came out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I'm sorry that I haven't had a chance to review these. I've been like pretty heads down with the release, but we'll try to prioritize these.
Yeah, all good. Honestly, these don't matter for the release. Like if they don't hit the release, that's fine. But because we're not going to get to React 18 in the next, half a week. But yeah, I'm hesitant to starting the next set of PRs until these guys are merged, just because there'll be merge conflicts.
For sure. Sure. Cool. So moving on. These aren't time sensitive or urgent or anything, but just there's like been Google Summer of Code interns who've expressed interest in participating and contributing to KFP, in Kubeflow in general, but also KFP specifically. Um, if anybody has any interest or appetite in mentoring, um, let us know because we want to give them an opportunity. And historically, they've had a big impact. Wasn't Yunkai originally Google Summer of Code?
Yep.
Yeah. So like the the migration from MySQL is like through this program. Um, yeah, if anybody's interested, just reach out to us. And yeah, there's a good opportunity here if anybody wants to do that. And also call so uh, you know, we've had a lot more there's been a huge uptick in the quantity and scale of individual PRs and the number of PRs in aggregate and also the scale of each individual PR. So like reviewer time is more of a bottleneck than it has been historically, I think. And so we want to encourage contributors to like formally become reviewers and have LGTM and eventually approved capabilities. So if anybody has any interest or or bandwidth, this is an area that would really help the project and also kind of is a good stepping stone from contributor to reviewer, approver, ultimately maintainer. So just want to call that out and encourage people who are interested. Um, yeah, that's it.
I can also add to that. So like if you're already reviewing PRs or you are interested in this. So if you've already been reviewing PRs, then and you feel like you've done a lot of work reviewing PRs and you want like uh the ability to officially do like a slash look good to me and add that like label to a PR, then just let us know which area of KFP you've been reviewing and you feel like you have like expertise in. Then if you can show that you've done reviews before, then we'd happily make you a reviewer. It's like that first stepping stone. And then once you become a reviewer and if you show expertise that like, okay, I know this part of KFP really well. Like, for example, I know the SDK really well. I want the ability to be able to review, but also merge PRs for like SDK. Then, once you've reviewed sufficiently enough PRs and showcased that you are an expert, then we give you the ability to be an approver for that subsystem of KFP, right? And once you are an approver for multiple areas, then you become a strong candidate for also maintainer. So that's kind of like the path. So you start at like reviewer basically, and that's where we encourage people to be able to like start their journey here. So uh, really encourage others to try to do that if you're interested in this.
Mary, I just had somebody ask me about this the other day. Is the path for that just to like do reviews, or is it to submit a PR to become a reviewer for whatever area they're interested in? Like, how do you want people to approach that?
Well, my opinion here is that, well, you have to, if you're a reviewer, you probably are also contributing PRs and not just doing reviews, right? But the thing is, to become a reviewer, you need to showcase that you've been reviewing and not just making PRs, right? Because by making PRs, you're showing that you know the code and you can like, as a code contributor, you're able to do that. But it doesn't tell us anything about your ability to review others' codes. So like we need to be able to see that you reviewed others' codes as well. But again, it's often like I think it's kind of like more if you still showed through like your PRs that you've done so much and you're willing to review and make that kind of like commitment clear and we know you and you've been participating in the community a lot, then like I think like uh, there's exceptions that can be made. So it's kind of more like, it's the, I don't know how you would say it, but it's kind of like just the there's a rule, but you don't have to necessarily follow the rule. Just like the spirit of the rule, right? Like the spirit of the law, I think is the saying. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like show up, prove the value, and
Yeah.
then submit the PR. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, in general, like part of the motivation here is we want to have like a clearly defined set of steps to achieve maintainership. So it's not just like all or nothing. And the other thing too is like as like project-wide maintainers, that's a lot of surface area, and like by necessity, we kind of like have to become jacks of all trades. So there's a lot of opportunity for ownership in specific subdomains. Like Jeff recently, like the ownership you've demonstrated in the front end has like very much closed a gap that we as like project wide maintainers weren't really filling just by virtue of all the other stuff that we have to tackle. So that's true in other subdomains too. Like there's room for ownership in testing, CI, many different parts of it's a huge, complicated project with lots of different moving parts. So I think like having more of a kind of distributed ownership model where we have subdomain experts, I think will improve the sustainability of the project long term. There's lots of opportunity there.
Cool. And I've already started like going through and triaging the front end issues and PRs that are out there. Merged a bunch of Dependabot stuff. How do y'all have other than like by vibes of just trying to be like, kind and community driven, do y'all have any policies on like what to do with like drive-by PRs where, they submit the thing and they get some feedback and there might be back and forth, but then, a month has passed and you haven't heard from them. Should we be more aggressive on closing those? If we really like the feature, like what I was looking at yesterday was the bubbling up the number of retries in the pipelines. Alex, you had reviewed some of that. And I kind of want to be like, hey, this is really cool. Like if this person doesn't want to like get the PR there, I'll get it there. But I also don't want to be like, hey, neat idea, I just stole it. So
So I
Yeah.
think what's important is the issue itself, right? So I'm fine with closing stale PRs. We can have a stale bot that closes them after a month of inactivity or whatever, or 2 months. I don't know, right? So that I'm fine with. It's like, but I'm a big proponent of if you're making a PR, make an issue about it first, or and then link the PR to the issue, and it's the issue that like lives on, right? So if the PR is closed down, the issue lives on, and if we can link that PR that was closed and say in the issue, like, hey, this was some effort. If somebody wants to pick it up, you can pick it up from this PR and make another PR, right? But I'm more kind of like usually anti-closing issues too early. So that's how I would address it.
okay, cool.
Specifically for that case though, where you want to take over like an abandoned PR, I think it's like just ping them, and if you don't get a response within a week, I think the polite thing to do is to take their commit and then add an additional commit on top, so that way they still get credit, or at least if you have just a single commit, add them as a co-author in the commit as well. So
Okay,
it depends, I guess, how much of it you're taking from their original implementation, but just giving
cool.
credit for them, the effort they did put in.
Yeah,
Cool. Thanks.
partially, I'm sure like the quality of the implementation is a factor. Unfortunately, we've seen a huge increase in like LLM generated PRs that have received minimal human review. So if it's clearly LLM generated and the person is like completely AWOL, I feel like you should have no qualms about taking over something.
That's actually a very good point, is that if we're seeing an uptick in volume of PRs coming, presumably from like, generated LLM PRs, so maybe like a need for a stale bot for closing stale PRs is even more warranted. Lest we end up with like a lot of PRs that were just LLM generated with barely any human involved, and it's just gonna stay open.
Yeah, I think the policy we should have, I think, is if they're not addressing the GitHub Copilot comments that are left on the PR, then it's not ready for a human to review it. And if it stays like that for too long, we should just close them.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And this also reminds me, Jeff, since you've been doing a whole lot of work on the front end, like if you can have the agents MD updated to like help these drive-by PRs just being higher quality if the coding agent knows what to do. So you might have an intuition of some things that could help by updating the agents.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been updating it as I go, but
Nice. Okay.
but only for new things I was doing. I can take a focused look at like, hey, how would this like what new things should go in here to improve that?
Yeah, and I think that'll help GitHub Copilot reviews as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate any attention to it.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else, anyone? Wow, we're actually at time. It's a miracle. 3 minutes back. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks.